Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Darcey on 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a licensed therapist and a professor, and let's see if I have any useful reactions while watching the Darcey story continue.
I'm sad because we've spent a lot of time together over the years, but there was two Darceys. There was the loving, sweet, nurturing woman, and then there was the other side to her that I don't think anyone can handle.
Not true, not in my opinion. The other side of Darcey was someone who was hurt, and if you could have helped her to not feel as hurt, she would probably have either not shown that side of herself to you, or it would have been mitigated or shortened in its time span.
And then I had to reach out to Darcey. It was an absolute train wreck.
Really? When you saw her, did you feel any emotions towards her?
I felt sorry for her.
So this is kind of an interesting dilemma for Tom. Given my hypothesis, I have no idea if it's true, that he is a leaf in the wind and lacks differentiation due to his family of origin experiences. He's being asked by his new romantic partner if Tom has any feelings about his old romantic partner, Darcey. And Tom is kind of between a rock and a hard place here. I mean, one, he knows that all this has been filmed, and he has been said, or he said, maybe even just earlier today or yesterday, that he was thinking about marrying Darcey. So he's kind of put in a bind where he's like, well, is Shannon going to watch this TV show? Should I say the full thing here? I have reasons to downplay any kind of feelings I had toward Darcey because I don't want Shannon to reject me. It's an interesting position to be put in. So he starts with, well, I felt sorry for her. I don't know about, let's see what more he says here.
But you don't have any romantic feelings for her at all?
I would be happy if I never had to speak to her ever again.
Okay, so that's probably accurate in that he didn't say he didn't or did have romantic feelings. He's just saying, I'd be happy if I never talked to her again. That stands to reason given the things that have happened. Now, I will say that it stands to reason that Tom has been confused and that it would be perfectly fine, I think, and normal for him to say something like, well, I'm kind of a mess right now, and I do have feelings for her. I don't want to ever be with her again because I think that we're not good for each other. But I do have some residual feelings because I think it's human and normal to have that it's not a light switch. Love isn't a light switch. It's a dimmer switch, if you will. And so, Shannon, as you and I date, I hope that you can understand that. And Shannon, if you have any residual feelings that are lingering from your past relationships, I'm open to that. I think that it takes a lot of differentiation and maturity to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and recognize that in yourself and admit it to yourself and also express it to other people. But, everyone has different ways of dating. Let's see what else they talk about here.
Prior to coming to New York, I did sit and talk about Darcey with Shannon. I just wanted her to be well aware of the situation.
Didn't know where your head was at fully. I mean, I know you had feelings for me, but you were confused about some other stuff, so I feel really excited that there's some clarity there.
No more confusion at all. I want to move on with my life. I want to find happiness, which I have with you. And I want to see where this magical journey could go.
So I have no way of knowing. Tom only shows a little bit of himself to the camera. The camera and the TV show edit certain things out, so I have no idea. But there does seem to be some evidence that Tom is a leaf in the wind due to past traumas or not being treated as if he was a competent person able to act on his own volition. His sister kind of treats him that way. That would point to a lifetime of him being in the role of someone who is a bit of a leaf in the wind and highly influenceable and doing things that other people want him to do rather than him doing what he wants to do. And that he would say things like this and that he would actually jump from woman to woman. And it's interesting because, and I can't say for sure if that's what's happening or even if that's a pathological thing, but his sister said to him, or he said that his sister said to him that he needs to stop the revolving door and stop being afraid of being vulnerable, something along those lines, which would really stand to reason given my hypothesis, or would support my hypothesis about his personality and potentially his traumas in the past. And so there's a possibility that he is doing exactly what his sister has identified as part of his issue by going directly from Darcey to Shannon, back to Darcey, and now back to Shannon without really knowing what he wants on the inside and without being able to stand on his own 2 feet. Because when you're in a couple and there are micro hurts, micro fears that happen, you need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, meaning that you need to be able to rely on yourself. You need to be able to have a selfhood that you feel pretty good about so that you can stand on your own 2 feet and like have differentiation, meaning that, say he's dating Shannon and Shannon has a bad day and says something nasty to him. And then he's devastated. He's hurt. Well, if he doesn't have a self to stand on, if he doesn't have the ability to differentiate and go like, okay, I think that's her issue right now and not really mine. So I'll distance myself emotionally a little bit. I'll take care of her, but I'm not going to get too involved in this 10-minute period because if I do, it's really going to hurt my feelings. Plus, I need to rely on myself in this moment. And I think her accusation or her vibe or whatever I'm inventing in my head about what she's saying about me, I know not to be true because I have self-worth and I know that I'm a good enough person. I have some flaws, but I know that I'm good enough. And I also trust that she's a good enough person too, and she has some flaws that are being exhibited right now. But she'll return back to equilibrium here in a second. That's what differentiation is, the ability to, I need to pull back a little bit. I need to rely on myself. And then when lovey times happen again, you can kind of lose yourself in the relationship and the boundary between self and other can become blurred because you're experiencing something good between the two of you. That's what differentiation is I'm going to lose myself in the moment and in the human being. And I'm going to let the emotions and thoughts all kind of run together because it's nice. Think of maybe when you're having sex and you don't really know where one body ends and one body begins, and you're in love and you're open and you're not worried about boundaries. You're just fully in the moment. And then another moment where you're like, they're in a bad mood, or I triggered them and they're coming at me. I need to differentiate in this moment and know the difference between me and them. They are them and I am me. And I have my feelings and I have my emotions. What's happening right now? What do I want to do with this? I'm a good enough person. What do I want out of this situation? And I speculate that for him, although he seems very competent and comes across as very put together, I suspect that right underneath that veil of pseudo competence is a lot of negative self-worth, a lot of not knowing what he wants or who he is or how he can stand on his own 2 feet. And when you have that selfhood and that lack of differentiation, you will tend to, one of the solutions that you'll feel is to bounce from relationship to relationship, because in the beginning of a relationship, there's a lot of accolades because it's like, this person likes me, and that kind of defines who I am. I am who I am, what other people see me. And when you're in the beginning of a relationship, other people that are romantically attracted to you tend to see you in a very positive light. And so you say, okay, well, that's what I am. Because of that lack of differentiation between self and others and between your fake self and your real self, you don't know where to turn in terms of like, well, who am I and what am I? And when someone's in the beginning of a relationship, new relationship energy is really liking you, you're just like, that feels good. They seem to really like me. They seem to think good thoughts about me. They seem to, really regard me highly. They want to be with me. And then when relationships get a little squirrely, because they always do, you're like, that person hates me right now. That person thinks I'm a scumbag. This doesn't feel good at all. I don't have any self to turn to. Better get rid of her, go on to the next person, because that person's that person won't have seen any of my flaws, and they'll give me all these accolades, and I can rely on their vision of me to define who I am. I'm not saying that Tom suffers from that, but there are some signs of that. As always, I can't diagnose from afar. The only way I'd be able to know these things about anyone is if I assess them 5 to 10 sessions or more in my office. They're willing to talk with me, that sort of thing. Also, subscribe, hit the bell below, become a patron on Patreon. Listen to our podcast, which there's over 1,000 episodes on your phone, on a podcast app, and comment below. Let me know what you think. Am I making sense? Have you ever had that experience where you felt like other people defined who you are and you bounced? You had that revolving door like Tom, or did you know someone like that? Share your experience. Okay, let's continue watching this scene.
Good to me.
I know what I want, and you make me feel like the man I want to be.
Ding, ding, ding. You make me feel like the man I want to be. I mean, I swear to God, I did not plan that. I mean, that is just like, it's not a definitive diagnosis, if you will, but he couldn't have said something more perfect to be another data point in the column of lack of differentiation and looking to new relationship energy to define who you are, because you don't know who you are and you don't feel good about who you are.
I was going to fly back to the UK, but I thought, no, if I'm so close, why don't I just fly back to Toronto and spend some time with you?
Really?
So are they going to do an offshoot with Tom now? I just saw a commercial where they're doing an offshoot with Jesse. There's so many offshoots from this TV show that I'm going to have to follow now.
I'll speak to you soon, okay?
Okay, honey.
Bye, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Things being at an end and having time to think about everything made me realize that what I had with someone else was everything I wanted.
Of course, the potential folly here is that you felt the same way when you met Darcey. And that's one of the things that maybe us viewers and maybe his friends and his family, his sister, can see. It's like, well, you said that last time. Darcey's sister will say to Darcey, you kind of said this last time. We see this repetitive pattern of falling in love and really being into it, and then things go wrong, and you're like, that person did X, Y, and Z, and the accusations from Darcey are the same. I'm guessing accusations from him might be similar, too, to a lot of his ex-partners. And then it's on to the next person because of a desperation of who am I and do I have any worth, rather than getting therapy and having some corrective experiences so that you can find out who you are, connect with who you are, have that attunement, have that compassion from someone else so that you can actually have some self-compassion and be in romantic relationships, but not need romantic relationships to define who you are. All right, well, that does it for that short installment of 90 Day Fiancé, in which we follow Darcey's story. Tune in next time when we continue to follow Darcey's story. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.